The late August sun scorched the Redstone Plains, the 200-acre Texas ranch a sprawling tapestry of golden cornrows and swaying wheat. The lake a shimmering expanse of molten glass reflecting the relentless heat, wildflowers clinging to the edges in stubborn bursts of yellow and purple, their petals curling against the dry wind. Ancient oaks standing like weathered sentinels, their gnarled branches casting scant shade across the cracked earth. But in the north field, John Parker, a rugged 54-year-old cowboy in a weathered Stetson, leapt from his combine, dust swirling around his worn boots, his flannel shirt damp with sweat, as a tow truck roared onto his land. Its diesel engine growling, chains rattling like a predator's teeth as it hooked his $300,000 tractor, the machine's red paint glinting defiantly. Clara Hensley, freshly reinstated to the County Land Oversight Committee after a desperate appeal, striding forward in a garish neon orange windbreaker, clipboard clutched like a scepter. Her terrier Yippee yapping at her heels, his shrill barks piercing the still air. That tractor's an eyesore. Parker, towed for violating county aesthetics, her voice smug and sharp, her thin lips curling into a triumphant sneer, John's fists clenching, his hazel eyes narrowing under the brim of his hat, his voice a low growl that cut through the heat. This is state-leased land. Clara, you just crossed a line you can't uncross. The air crackling with tension, the lake's serene glow fading into the haze, the wildflowers trembling, their roots deep in the Texas soil. John had tended Redstone for over a decade, its 160 acres wrapping like a protective horseshoe around the plains' northern edge. Bordering a small residential enclave of tidy ranchettes and manicured lawns, a fragile truce holding between his farming life and their suburban routines. His days filled with the rhythmic hum of machinery, the scent of turned soil, theirs with backyard barbecues and whispered gossip, a peaceful coexistence until Clara seized control of the committee. Her election a year ago unleashing a torrent of petty grievances, noise complaints about his roosters crowing at dawn, citations for his grain silos casting unsightly shadows, warnings about dust from his trails, John weathering it with a stoic nod, keeping his fences neat, his crops thriving, but harvest season was sacred. The Northfield part of a 6-year contract with the state agricultural department for strategic food production, tied to the Verdant Network's ley lines. A deal ensuring Redstone's bounty fed more than just the plains. That morning he'd risen before dawn, coffee steaming in his thermos. Johnny Cash's gravelly voice crackling through the combine speakers, the sun climbing in a blaze of molten orange, the tractor cutting through cornrows with precision, John thinking, just maybe. Clara would let it slide this year. She didn't. By the second day, she stood at the field's edge, arms crossed, her clipboard a shield, shouting across the hedgerow about communal peace violations and disruptive visual experiences. John pulling over, wiping sweat from his brow. This is state land, Clara, outside your jurisdiction. Her eyes flashing. It's in our view, Parker. It lowers property values. John chuckling, it's a tractor, not a plague, her face hardening, the wildflowers trembling in the breeze. The plains stretching wide and unbroken, their roots deep in the Texas soil. The next morning, John trudged out to the north field, the dawn light painting the crops in soft gold. But the gravel path where he'd parked the tractor was empty, tire tracks gouging the earth toward the service road, a crumpled note taped to the barn's weathered planks, towed. Abandoned machinery, reported by county oversight. John's laughter echoing across the plains, a mix of disbelief and dawning realization. Clara had called a tow. Oblivious that the tractor was state-registered, its removal during an active harvest window a federal offense, tampering with critical infrastructure. He stood there, the note fluttering in his hand, picturing her smug grin as the tow truck hauled away his lifeline. Then he smiled, a slow, dangerous grin. She hadn't just messed with a farmer, she'd tangled with the state. And John held the lease, 160 acres of verdant-linked farmland, a fact she'd never bothered to check. By noon, 2 white SUVs rolled in, kicking up dust, a state agricultural inspector in khakis, a sheriff's deputy with a weary squint, and a compliance officer in a crisp suit. Clara marching over, Yippee nipping at the air. That machine was a nuisance, she snapped, the inspector smirking. Visual range isn't legal jurisdiction, ma'am. This is state-leased property. John stepping forward, his Stetson shadowing his face. I lease all 160 acres to the state 6 years running. Clara's face flushing red, then purple, her clipboard trembling, the wildflowers enduring, their roots deep in the Texas soil. 2 days later, the plains buzzed with official presence. The SUV's returning with a taller figure in a pinstripe suit, an agent from the Department of Infrastructure Integrity, his briefcase gleaming like a weapon. The tractor classified as essential agricultural infrastructure under emergency preparedness clauses, Clara's tow escalating from petty theft to a disruption of a supply chain asset. The agent handing John a thick folder, copies of notices, a preliminary report, a survey in flaming red showing the tractor parked 74 feet from county lines, and a printed email Clara had sent to the enclave, bragging about her decisive action to remove unsightly machinery encroaching on our serene plains. Complete with a photo of the tractor dangling from the tow truck's chains, John stifling a laugh. "Where'd you get this?" The agent smirking. 7 residents forwarded it, anonymously. Clara arriving, her windbreaker a beacon of defiance. "This is harassment." The agent turning. "Explain why you ordered a tow of state equipment." Her voice rising. "It was abandoned." The inspector holding up her email. "You posed for this. Admissible evidence." Her face cycling through shock, defiance, panic. The lake glowing gold in the twilight, the wildflowers trembling, their roots deep in the Texas soil. Clara doubled down. A certified letter from a local attorney landing on John's porch, accusing him of emotional distress, community disruption, and visual degradation, demanding he cease farming within 500 feet of the enclave, citing a non-existent Plains peace ordinance, John reading it aloud to Sarah over coffee. Both laughing until tears streaked their faces. "She's writing Disney villain fanfiction," Sarah quipped, John taking it to the compliance officer, who chuckled, "Legal Mad Libs." The state firing back with a cease and desist, the lawsuit reaching a judge John knew from a land reform task force 5 years prior, a grizzled man who'd praised John's zoning papers. The case thrown out before it hit the docket, the judge issuing a stern warning to Clara, her attorney quitting on the courthouse steps. "Good luck," he muttered, driving off, the committee reeling. Residents like Old Man Carter whispering over fences. "She used our dues for that tow. Emergency funds drained," Lena Carter adding. Her privacy walls unpermitted. An emergency meeting echoing across the plains, voices shouting embezzlement, Frank standing, "Call a vote." Clara's name erased from the roster by sunset, the wildflowers enduring, their roots deep in the Texas soil. John played his ace, revealing he owned the access road into the enclave, a half-mile gravel stretch bought quietly from an old rancher's estate. Its easement expired months ago. Unrenewed, he'd renamed it Tractorway, forcing address updates, Clara fighting the change with letters and complaints. John installing a custom tractor-shaped mailbox at the gate, its red flag popping up with each delivery, her mail now stamped Tractorway, her house listed for sale, the plains quieting. John hosting a harvest day, kettle corn wafting, tractor demos rumbling, bluegrass fiddles singing, eclipsing Clara's failed Harmony Festival, residents crossing the hedgerow. The sheriff eating turkey legs by the bonfire, Clara barred by a trespass notice, her SUV rattling down a pothole detour, the wildflowers trembling in the breeze. The plains stretching wide and unbroken, their roots deep in the Texas soil. The enclave healed, Steve elected committee head, a potluck thanking John with a tractor-shaped cake. Clara's moving truck vanishing into the dusk, John on his porch, cider in hand, the stars bright. The verdant's safe, for now. Quantum Horizons drones a distant hum, the wildflowers enduring, their roots deep in the Texas soil.